Welcome to Introduction to Population Growth Notes. So we want to think about how fast populations grow. And to start with, we're going to use an example that doesn't actually involve organisms. We're going to think about money. So would you rather be paid $5 an hour for a 20-hour week or a salary that starts at 1 cent for the first hour and doubles each additional hour up to 20 hours? Let's do some math. So $5 an hour times 20 hours equals $100. 1 cent doubling every hour, so 1 cent, then 2 cents, then 4 cents, then 8 cents, etc., gives you $10,485 at the end of your 20 hours. If we graphed these salaries, this is what they would look like. We'd have linear growth with a very steady slope on that line, an exponential growth, whoosh, that big jump at the end. So let's start with linear growth. This trend is called linear growth or arithmetic growth. So think about arithmetic. I'm just adding the same amount every single time. So you get that constant slope of your line. This shows a pattern that's increasing a constant amount. I know exactly how much that line's going to go up each time. This is exponential growth or geometric growth. It shows a pattern that is increasing at a constant rate. So the amount that it increases each time is what's constant. Populations of organisms increase exponentially. The graph that results from this type of growth is called a J-curve. Every species increases at a rate known as its biotic potential. This is based on their habitat requirements and their reproductive rates. So why don't populations just increase indefinitely? Well, the environment limits populations from increasing forever. These limits are called limiting factors. When limiting factors affect a population, organisms may die or move out of an area. Eventually, the population will stabilize at a point we call the carrying capacity. Carrying capacity can be defined as a number of organisms that an environment can support over a long period of time. There are two types of limits that regulate the size of a population. The first type are called density-dependent factors, and they have an increasing effect as the population increases. That means that the effect is compounded. So examples of density-dependent factors: predators, disease, competition, etc. Hint, these are usually biotic factors. Density-dependent factors tend to be things that are biotic, living. Density-independent factors. These affect all populations regardless of how large or small the population may be. Examples of this would be the temperature, storms, floods, droughts, etc. So you can see this background picture is of a massive flood, and if there were 3 deer or 100 deer, they're all going to be affected the same way if there's a massive flood. It doesn't matter how many of the deer are present. So think, these are usually going to be abiotic, non-living effects. Last thing we want to think about here is logistic model of growth. When the limiting factors are density-dependent and density-independent limiting factors limit my population, the J-curve will not continue to increase. It levels off at the carrying capacity. Remember, that's this K here. I know carrying capacity starts with CC, but we use a K on the graph. When the carrying capacity is reached, the curve levels off and becomes an S curve. So it levels off because the environment can't support more organisms than my carrying capacity.